So, what's next? Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has the support he needs to move ahead with the confirmation process. McConnell says he looks forward to meeting with Barrett next week. The Senate Judiciary Committee is expected to begin confirmation hearings on October 12th. Barrett is expected to meet with lawmakers ahead of the hearings, but some Senate Democrats have said they will not meet with her. Today, I spoke with Professor Charles Rocky Rhodes of the South Texas College of Law, who says Democrats will fight against her confirmation, but in the end, they just don't have the votes.
So the reality of the situation is there's really not much the Democrats can do other than to raise a bunch of noise, but the Republican and try to delay things. But the Republicans have votes here and have the ability to essentially push this nomination through since there are 51 votes that support it.
Rhodes also says if Barrett is indeed confirmed, it would be the closest to an election that a Supreme Court vacancy has been filled in U.S. history.